My name is Idella Crawford, and I'm 69 years old. I raised 3 children by myself after my husband died young. My oldest son, Grady, was always my pride and joy. Smart, charming, successful. Until he tried to kill me, 3 times. Let me tell you about the moment everything came to light. The moment I sat in that witness stand, looked my son in the eyes, and told a courtroom full of people exactly what he'd done. The moment his face turned ash gray and he realized his mother, the woman he'd tried to murder, was about to destroy his entire life. It was a Thursday morning in June. The courtroom was packed. The prosecutor had called me to the witness stand to testify against my own son, against Grady. He sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, looking confident, looking like the successful businessman everyone thought he was. He'd told everyone this was all a misunderstanding, that I was confused, that I was old and getting things mixed up in my head. He genuinely believed I wouldn't go through with it, wouldn't actually testify, wouldn't actually destroy him, because I was his mother, and mothers protect their children, right? Wrong. The prosecutor approached me. Mrs. Crawford, can you tell the court what happened on the night of March 15th? I looked at Grady, looked right into his eyes, and I said, "That's the night my son tried to poison me." Grady's confident smile faltered, just a little, but I saw it. "Tell us what happened," the prosecutor said. "My son Grady came to my house for dinner. He insisted on making my tea for me, said he wanted to take care of me, but after I drank that tea, I got violently sick. Vomiting, dizziness, heart palpitations. I ended up in the emergency room." And what did the doctors find? They found arsenic in my system. Someone had put arsenic in my tea. Grady's face went pale, but not ash gray, not yet. "Mrs. Crawford, that wasn't the only incident, was it?" "No, there were 3 attempts on my life. The poisoned tea, a car accident that wasn't an accident, and a fire." "Tell us about the car accident." I took a deep breath. 2 weeks after the poisoning, I was driving home from church. My brakes failed, completely failed. I went through a red light and almost got hit by a truck. By the grace of God, I survived. When they examined my car, they found that my brake lines had been cut. "And who had access to your car?" "My son Grady. He'd borrowed my car the day before, said his was in the shop." Grady was gripping the edge of the defense table now. His knuckles were white. His lawyer whispered something to him, but Grady didn't respond, just stared at me. "Tell us about the fire," the prosecutor said. 3 weeks after the brake incident, my house caught fire in the middle of the night. I was asleep. I woke up to smoke, barely made it out alive. The fire marshal determined it was arson. Someone had poured accelerant around my bedroom door and lit it. They wanted to trap me inside. "And do you know who set that fire?" "Yes, my son Grady." That's when it happened. That's when his face changed. When all the color drained from his skin. When he turned ash gray like someone had painted him with death. Because I'd pulled out my phone, and I showed the prosecutor and the whole courtroom something Grady didn't know I had. A recording of him confessing to all of it. "Play the recording," the prosecutor said. And my son's voice filled that courtroom, filled it with his confession, filled it with the truth he'd thought would never come out. "I need her dead, Winnie. I need the insurance money. I need her house. I'm in too deep. If I don't pay these people back, they're going to kill me, so she has to die. It's her or me." That was Grady's voice, talking to his wife, admitting he'd tried to kill me, admitting he'd put arsenic in my tea, admitting he'd cut my brake lines, admitting he'd set fire to my house. The courtroom erupted, people gasping, the judge banging her gavel, Grady's lawyer standing up, shouting objections, Grady's wife Winnie sitting in the gallery, covering her mouth in horror. And Grady just sat there, ash gray, frozen, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. Because in that moment, he realized, his mother hadn't just survived his murder attempts. She'd recorded his confession. She'd gathered evidence. She'd built a case. And now she was destroying him in front of everyone. "No further questions," the prosecutor said. But Grady's lawyer stood up. Mrs. Crawford, isn't it true that you and your son have had a difficult relationship, that you've held grudges against him? I looked at the lawyer calmly. My son tried to kill me 3 times. That's not a grudge, that's attempted murder. But you can't prove it was him. I have his confession, on tape, in his own voice, admitting to all of it. The lawyer had no response, because what could he say? The evidence was clear, the confession was clear. My son had tried to murder me, and he'd been caught. If this story has you hooked, you need to subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. We bring you the most dramatic grandmother stories every week. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from: USA, UK, Canada, Jamaica, Kenya. Let us know. Now let's get into this story. But to understand how we got to that courtroom, how my son became a man who would try to kill his own mother, I need to take you back to the beginning. Back to when I first realized something was terribly, terribly wrong. It started 6 months before the poisoning. 6 months before Grady tried to kill me the first time. Grady had always been a good son. Not perfect, no one is, but good. He called me regularly, visited for holidays, helped me with repairs around the house. He was married to Winnie, a woman I'd never particularly liked but tolerated for Grady's sake. They had 2 children, my grandchildren, Sherman and Lottie. But 6 months ago, things changed. Grady started calling me more often, too often, and he always asked the same questions. Mama, have you thought about updating your will? Mama, do you have life insurance? How much? Mama, have you considered selling your house? You're getting older. Maybe you should move into something smaller. At first, I thought he was just being practical, concerned about my future, but the questions kept coming, getting more insistent, more urgent. Mama, seriously, we need to talk about your estate planning. What happens to your house when you die? What happens to your savings? Grady, I'm 69, not 99. I'm not planning to die anytime soon. I know, Mama, but these things need to be discussed. We need to make sure everything is in order for when the time comes. For when the time comes. Like he was waiting for me to die, like he was planning for it. Then one day, I overheard a phone conversation. Grady was at my house, supposedly fixing my leaky faucet. His phone rang. He went into the other room to answer it. But I could hear him through the wall. No, I told you, I'm working on it. I know I owe you the money. I said I'm working on it. By the end of the month, I promise. No, don't come to my house. Don't threaten my family. I'll have the money. My mother has life insurance. $500,000. Once she's gone, I can pay you back everything. My blood ran cold. Once she's gone, like my death was inevitable, like it was already planned. I walked into the room. Grady, who were you talking to? He jumped, dropped his phone. Mama, I didn't know you were listening. Who were you talking to? Who do you owe money to? Nobody. It's nothing, just business stuff. Grady, I heard you. You said you owe someone money. You mentioned my life insurance. His face hardened. Mama, you were eavesdropping, that's private. Private? You're talking about my death like it's a business transaction. I didn't mean it like that. You misheard. You're always misunderstanding things lately. I heard exactly what you said. He stepped toward me, and for the first time in my life, I felt afraid of my own son. There was something in his eyes, something cold, something desperate. Mama, forget what you heard. It's nothing, I'm handling it. Handling what? Grady, what have you gotten yourself into? I said forget it. He grabbed his tools and left. Didn't say goodbye, didn't explain. Just left me standing there, terrified of what I'd discovered. Over the next few weeks, I started paying attention, really paying attention, and I noticed things I'd missed before. Grady's business, he ran a construction company, was struggling. He'd mentioned losing a few contracts, but I thought it was temporary. Normal business ups and downs. But it was worse than that, much worse. I did some digging, called a friend whose son worked in construction, asked some careful questions, and I learned that Grady's company was nearly bankrupt. He'd taken out massive loans, made bad investments, and he owed money to some very dangerous people. My friend's son told me, Miss Idella, I hate to say this, but word on the street is that Grady got involved with the wrong crowd, borrowed money from loan sharks. Now they're pressuring him to pay up, and from what I hear, they're not patient people. Loan sharks, dangerous people, and Grady needed money fast. Money he thought he could get from my life insurance. I started being more careful, locked my doors at night, paid attention to what I ate and drank when Grady was around, watched my back. But I didn't think he'd actually try to kill me. I thought maybe he was just desperate, just talking, just scared. I was wrong. The first attempt came 2 weeks after I overheard that phone call. Grady came over for Sunday dinner. He'd been distant, but I'd invited him anyway. Hoping we could talk. Hoping he'd explain what was going on. He arrived with flowers and a smile. "Mama, I'm sorry about the other week. I've been stressed. Work stuff. I didn't mean to snap at you." "It's okay, baby. I understand." We had dinner, talked about normal things. The grandchildren, the weather, church. It felt almost normal. After dinner, Grady insisted on making tea. "Mama, you sit down. Let me take care of you." He made me my favorite, chamomile with honey. Brought it to me with that same charming smile. "Here you go, Mama, just the way you like it." I took a sip. It tasted, slightly off, bitter, but I thought maybe the honey was old. I drank about half the cup before Grady left. He seemed anxious to go, kept checking his watch. "Mama, I have to run. Winnie needs me home, but I'll call you tomorrow." He left, and 30 minutes later I was violently ill. Vomiting, dizziness, my heart racing, chest pain. I called 911, barely managed to give them my address before I collapsed. I woke up in the hospital. The doctors said I'd been poisoned. Arsenic. Not enough to kill me, thank God, but enough to make me very, very sick. "Mrs. Crawford, do you know how you ingested arsenic?" the doctor asked. "The tea. My son made me tea." "Your son?" "Yes, he insisted on making it for me. It tasted bitter. I thought it was just old honey." The doctor looked concerned. "Mrs. Crawford, arsenic doesn't get into tea by accident. Someone put it there, deliberately." I knew, in my heart I knew, but I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to believe my own son had tried to poison me. When I got home from the hospital 3 days later, there was a message on my answering machine from Grady. "Mama, I heard you were in the hospital. I'm so worried about you. It must have been food poisoning or something. Please call me back. I love you." Food poisoning. Like he didn't know. Like he hadn't put the poison in my tea himself. I didn't call him back. Instead, I called the police. But the police said there wasn't enough evidence to charge anyone. Yes, I'd been poisoned. Yes, Grady had made the tea, but I couldn't prove he'd put the arsenic in it. He could claim someone else had access to my kitchen. That someone else must have poisoned me. "Mrs. Crawford, unless you have direct evidence linking your son to the poisoning, we can't arrest him. I'm sorry." Direct evidence, I needed proof, and I didn't have it. So I started gathering it, started recording conversations, started documenting everything, started preparing for the next attempt. Because I knew there would be a next attempt. Grady needed that insurance money, and he wasn't going to stop until he got it. 2 weeks later, he borrowed my car. Said his was in the shop, needed to use mine for the day. I let him take it, but after he returned it, I had a bad feeling, so I took it to a mechanic. "Miss Crawford," the mechanic said, his face grave, "your brake lines have been cut, partially, enough that they'd fail after a few uses, enough that it would look like an accident. Who had access to your car?" "My son." The mechanic looked horrified. "Ma'am, you need to go to the police. This is attempted murder." I went to the police again, showed them the mechanic's report, told them about the poisoning, told them about Grady's financial troubles and the phone conversation I'd overheard. "We'll look into it," they said, but I could see they were skeptical. A son trying to kill his mother for insurance money. It sounded like a movie plot. But it wasn't a movie. It was my life. And it was about to get worse, because Grady wasn't done. He had one more attempt planned, the deadliest one yet. The fire. 3 weeks after the break incident, I woke up at 2 a.m. to smoke. Thick, black smoke filling my bedroom. I jumped out of bed, disoriented, coughing. The door to my bedroom was blocked by flames. Someone had poured something flammable, gasoline or kerosene, around the door and lit it. They'd tried to trap me inside, to burn me alive. I grabbed my phone and called 911. Then I ran to my bedroom window, opened it, climbed out onto the roof. I'm 69 years old. Climbing out a second-story window in the middle of the night because my house is on fire and someone tried to kill me. The fire department arrived, got me down safely, put out the fire. The fire marshal determined it was arson. Someone deliberately set this fire. They wanted to make sure you didn't get out. It was my son, I said. My son, Grady, he's been trying to kill me. This time the police took me seriously. 3 attempts, 3 separate incidents, a pattern, evidence. They brought Grady in for questioning. He denied everything. Said he was home with his wife the night of the fire. Said I was paranoid. Said I was old and confused. But I wasn't confused, and I wasn't done fighting. Because while they were questioning Grady, I was doing something he didn't expect. Something that would ultimately bring him down. I was recording him, getting him to confess, building the case that would put him in prison. And it all came together in that courtroom. When I played that recording, when his face turned ash gray, when he realized his mother had beaten him. But the story wasn't over. Because what happened after I testified, what happened to Grady, to his wife Winnie, to my family, that was the real shock. The real twist that no one saw coming. He tried to kill her 3 times. If you're shocked, smash that like button and subscribe immediately. Turn on notification. And comment, where are you watching from? And could you testify against your own child? After I stepped down from the witness stand, the courtroom was in chaos. The judge called a recess. Grady's lawyer was frantically talking to him, but Grady just sat there, ash gray, staring at nothing. Winnie, his wife, ran out of the courtroom crying. And me, I sat in the hallway outside, shaking. Because testifying against your own child, even when that child tried to kill you, is the hardest thing a mother can ever do. My youngest daughter, Ola, sat beside me holding my hand. Mama, you did the right thing. You did what you had to do. I know, I whispered, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. How did you get that recording? She asked. How did you get Grady to confess? That's a long story, baby. A very long story. If you're wondering how she got that confession, keep watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on all notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Let me take you back to 3 days after the fire. 3 days after someone tried to burn me alive in my own home. I was staying with Ola because my house was unlivable. The fire had destroyed my bedroom and damaged most of the second floor. I'd lost almost everything, clothes, photos, memories, all gone. But I was alive, and I was angry. The police had questioned Grady, but they'd let him go. Not enough evidence, they said. Yes, he had motive, the insurance money. Yes, he had opportunity, he knew my schedule, had access to my house. But they couldn't prove he'd set the fire. I sat in Ola's guest room, thinking about how to prove what I knew in my heart was true, how to get evidence that would stand up in court. That's when my phone rang. It was Winnie, Grady's wife. Miss Idella, can I come talk to you, alone? I was surprised. Winnie and I had never been close. She'd always been cold to me, always keeping me at arm's length from my grandchildren. Why do you want to talk to me? Because I know what Grady did, and I can't stay silent anymore. She came to Ola's house an hour later. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red from crying. We sat in the living room. Ola made herself scarce, giving us privacy. Miss Idella, I'm so sorry, Winnie started, tears already falling. I'm so sorry for what Grady has done. You know he tried to kill me. I didn't know at first, I swear I didn't, but I started noticing things, strange things. After you got sick from the tea, Grady seemed relieved when you survived. Relieved but also frustrated, like he was disappointed. Go on. Then your brake lines were cut, and Grady had borrowed your car the day before. I asked him about it. He said it was just a coincidence, that someone else must have done it, but I didn't believe him. And the fire. Winnie broke down completely. The night of the fire, Grady left the house at 1:30 a.m., said he had to check on something at a work site, but I could smell gasoline on him when he came back, and his clothes had smoke on them. Did you ask him about it? Yes, I confronted him, and he admitted it. He told me everything. The poison, the car, the fire, all of it. My heart was pounding. He confessed to you. Yes, he said he didn't have a choice, that he owed dangerous people a lot of money, that they were going to hurt our family if he didn't pay them back. He said the only way to get that kind of money fast was your life insurance. Did you tell the police? Winnie looked down, ashamed. No, I was scared of what would happen to our family, to Sherman and Lottie, scared of the people Grady owed money to, scared of everything, so I stayed quiet, and I hate myself for it. But you're here now. Why? Because this morning I heard him on the phone again, with those people he owes money to. They're giving him 1 more week. If he doesn't pay them by then, they're going after our children. They threatened Sherman and Lottie, and Grady. Grady said he'd take care of it, that he'd finish the job. That's what he said. I'll finish the job. He's going to try again, Miss Idella. He's going to try to kill you again. I felt cold all over. My son wasn't going to stop. He was going to keep trying until I was dead. Winnie, will you testify? Will you tell the police what Grady told you? She hesitated. I don't know if they'll believe me. I'm his wife. They'll think I'm just trying to protect him by making up a story. Unless what? Unless we get him to confess again, on tape, where there's no doubt, where he can't deny it. How? Winnie pulled out her phone. He trusts me. If I ask him the right questions, get him talking, he'll tell me everything again, especially if he thinks I'm on his side, if he thinks I'm helping him plan. You'd do that. You'd record your own husband confessing to attempted murder. He tried to kill you 3 times, and he's willing to put our children at risk to save himself. Yes, I'll do it, because I need to protect my Bobbies, and I need to stop him before he actually succeeds in killing you. We planned it carefully, very carefully. We needed Grady to confess everything, in detail, with no room for misinterpretation. Winnie went home. I stayed at Ola's. And that night, Winnie set up her phone to record and had a conversation with Grady. I didn't hear it live. Winnie sent me the recording the next morning, and when I listened to it, I cried. Because hearing my son, my firstborn, the baby I'd held in my arms, the child I'd raised, talking about killing me like it was a business decision, it broke something inside me. Here's what the recording said. Winnie, Grady, we need to talk about your mother. Grady, what about her? Winnie, you said you'd finish the job. What does that mean? Grady, you know what it means. The fire didn't work. She got out, but I have to try again. I don't have a choice. Winnie, baby, maybe there's another way. Maybe we could ask her for a loan. Grady, she doesn't have that kind of cash available. I need $500,000. The only way to get it is the life insurance, which means she has to die. Winnie, but the police are watching you now. If something happens to her, they'll know it was you. Grady, then I'll be smarter about it, make it look like natural causes. She's old. She has high blood pressure. A heart attack wouldn't be suspicious. Winnie, how would you even do that? Grady, there are ways to induce a heart attack, or I could stage an accident, make her fall down the stairs. At her age, that's believable. Winnie, this is crazy. You're talking about murdering your own mother. Grady, I know, don't you think I know that? I never wanted this. But those people I owe money to, they're not playing games. They said if I don't pay them by next Friday, they're coming for Sherman and Lottie. They described exactly what they'd do to them. I can't let that happen. I won't let that happen. Winnie, so you're choosing our children over your mother. Grady, she's 69 years old. She's lived her life. My children have their whole lives ahead of them. Yes, I'm choosing them over her, wouldn't you? Winnie, I don't know anymore. Grady, Winnie, I need you with me on this. I need you to support me. Can you do that? Winnie, pause. I don't know if I can watch you kill your mother. Grady, you won't have to watch. Just keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anyone. Let me handle it. In 2 weeks, this will all be over. We'll have the insurance money. We'll pay off the debt. And our family will be safe. That's all that matters, family. The recording ended there, and I sat listening to it over and over again, crying. My son, my baby, talking about killing me like I was an obstacle to remove, justifying it by saying he was protecting his children, like it was noble, like it was the right thing to do. I took the recording to the police, played it for them. The detective listened with a grim expression. Mrs. Crawford, this is a confession. This is exactly what we needed. We can arrest him now. Good, do it, before he tries again. They arrested Grady that afternoon, charged him with 3 counts of attempted murder, set his bail at $1 million, money he didn't have. He sat in jail awaiting trial, and I tried to process what had happened, tried to understand how my son had become a man capable of such evil. My other 2 children, Ola and my middle son Jasper, were supportive, horrified by what Grady had done, but supportive of me. Mama, we had no idea, Jasper said. We knew Grady was struggling financially, but we never thought he'd. We never imagined he'd try to kill you. I didn't imagine it either, baby, not until it was happening. What are you going to do about the trial? Are you really going to testify against him? Yes, I have to. If I don't, he might get away with it. And even if he doesn't try again, even if he goes to prison for a while and gets out, what kind of message does it send if I stay silent? That family can hurt you and you just accept it. No, I'm testifying. Ola hugged me. Mama, we support you. Whatever you decide, we're with you. But not everyone supported me. Grady's friends, some members of our church, even some family members. They thought I was being cruel, heartless, turning on my own son. He's your child, my cousin Vada said. You should forgive him. You should work this out as a family. He tried to kill me 3 times, I replied coldly. There's nothing to work out. But if you testify, he could go to prison for 20 years. You'd be sending your own son to prison. He sent himself to prison when he put arsenic in my tea, when he cut my brake lines, when he set my house on fire. I'm just making sure he faces consequences. Not everyone understood, but I didn't need them to understand. I needed them to respect my decision. The weeks before the trial were the hardest of my life. I moved back into my house, the parts that were livable, and tried to rebuild my life, tried to feel safe in my own home again. But I didn't feel safe. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. Every time someone knocked on the door, I panicked. I slept with my phone next to my bed, 911 on speed dial. Because Grady was in jail, but the people he owed money to were still out there. And if they thought I was the reason Grady couldn't pay them. One night, 2 weeks before the trial, someone threw a brick through my living room window. Attached to it was a note. Drop the charges or your other children are next. I called the police. They increased patrols around my house, but they couldn't protect me 24/7. They couldn't protect Ola and Jasper and their families. I called Winnie. The people Grady owes money to, who are they? What do they want? I don't know who they are exactly, she said. Grady never told me names, but Miss Idella, they're dangerous, very dangerous. Maybe you should consider. Consider what? Dropping the charges, letting Grady go free, so he can try to kill me again. No, I'm worried about you, about all of us. These people don't play. Neither do I. I survived 3 murder attempts. I'm not backing down now. But I was scared, terrified actually, not just for myself but for my family. That's when Jasper came to me with a plan. Mama, what if we go to the media? What if we tell your story publicly? Make it so high profile that these criminals can't touch you without drawing massive attention. You think that would work? I think it's worth trying. If everyone knows what happened, if everyone's watching, they'll have a harder time hurting you. So we did it. We went to the local news, told my story, showed the recording or parts of it enough to prove what happened without compromising the trial. The story went viral. Local news became national news. People across the country were talking about the son who tried to murder his mother for insurance money, about the brave woman who refused to let her attempted murderer go free. And something unexpected happened. Other people started coming forward, other victims of elder abuse, other parents who'd been exploited or hurt by their adult children. "Thank you for speaking up," one woman wrote to me. "My son stole my retirement savings. I was too ashamed to report him, but seeing you stand up for yourself gave me courage. I'm pressing charges now." "You're a hero," another person wrote. "You're showing people that family doesn't get a free pass to hurt you." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a mother who'd failed to raise a good son, but I also knew I was doing the right thing. 3 days before the trial, Grady's lawyer came to see me. Without Grady, just the lawyer. "Mrs. Crawford, I'd like to discuss a plea deal." "I'm listening." "My client is willing to plead guilty to 1 count of attempted murder in exchange for a reduced sentence. 10 years instead of the potential 60 years he's facing if convicted on all 3 counts." "No." "Mrs. Crawford, he tried to kill me 3 times. 3 times. Poison, cutting my brake lines, arson. He doesn't deserve a reduced sentence. He deserves the full consequences of what he did. If you go to trial, you'll have to testify. You'll have to relive all of it. In front of cameras. In front of the world. Is that really what you want?" "What I want is justice. Real justice. Not some deal that lets him off easy." "Mrs. Crawford, please think about your grandchildren, Sherman and Lottie. If their father goes to prison for 60 years, they'll grow up without him. Is that what you want for them?" That hurt, because I loved my grandchildren, loved them dearly, but I couldn't let that love compromise justice. Sherman and Lottie will grow up knowing their father tried to murder their grandmother. That's what Grady did to them, not me. He made that choice. Now he lives with the consequences. The lawyer left, frustrated, and 3 days later the trial began. That's when I sat in that witness stand, when I told my story, when I played that recording, when Grady's face turned ash gray. But the trial wasn't over, because Grady's lawyer still had a chance to cross-examine me, to try to poke holes in my story, to try to make the jury doubt. And what happened during that cross-examination, what was revealed, shocked everyone in that courtroom, including me. Because there was something I didn't know, something Grady had kept hidden, something that explained everything, and made everything so much worse. What didn't she know? If you're desperate to find out, smash that like button and subscribe now. Turn on all notifications. And comment, where are you watching from? And do you think she should have taken the plea deal? The cross-examination began the next morning. Grady's lawyer, a sharp-dressed man named Mr. Roscoe Bartholomew, stood up and approached the witness stand where I sat. "Mrs. Crawford, you've painted a very disturbing picture of my client, but I need to ask you some questions about your relationship with your son. Have you always had a good relationship with Grady?" "Yes, until 6 months ago we had a normal mother-son relationship." "Normal, but isn't it true that you disapproved of his marriage to Winnie?" "I didn't know Winnie well, but I never interfered in their marriage." "Isn't it also true that you refused to help Grady financially when his business started struggling?" I paused because that was true. Grady had asked me for money about 8 months ago, $50,000 to keep his business afloat, and I'd said no. He asked me for $50,000. I told him I didn't have that kind of money to give him. "But you do have money, don't you? You have significant savings. You own your home outright. You could have helped him." "I worked my whole life for those savings. I'm not obligated to give them away just because someone asks. Even when that someone is your son who was struggling, who was desperate. If I'd known he was involved with dangerous people, maybe I would have helped differently. But he didn't tell me the truth. He just asked for money and got angry when I said no." Mr. Bartholomew smiled slightly. "So you admit you refused to help your son when he was in financial crisis. A crisis that, had you helped him, might have prevented all of this. Objection, the prosecutor called out. Counsel is blaming the victim for being victimized. Sustained, the judge said. Mr. Bartholomew, move on. But the damage was done. The jury had heard it. Some of them were looking at me differently now. Like maybe this was partially my fault. Like maybe if I'd just given Grady the money, none of this would have happened. Mrs. Crawford, let's talk about the recording. You claim my client confessed to trying to kill you. But isn't it true that you never heard this confession directly? That it was recorded by your daughter-in-law without your knowledge? Winnie recorded it with my knowledge. We planned it together. So you conspired with Grady's wife to entrap him, to get him to say things that could be used against him. I conspired with her to get the truth, to get evidence of what he'd done. Or to manipulate him into saying things that sounded bad out of context. There's no context that makes "I need her dead" sound good, Mr. Bartholomew. Some people in the courtroom laughed. The judge gavelled for quiet. Mr. Bartholomew looked annoyed. Mrs. Crawford, do you know who your son owed money to? No, he never told me. Do you know how much danger he was in? Real, physical danger. He said he owed dangerous people, but nothing. Mrs. Crawford, what if I told you that the people your son owed money to had already killed someone? That they'd murdered a man who couldn't pay his debts? That they'd threatened to do the same to Grady's children, your grandchildren? I felt cold. I knew they'd threatened the children, but I didn't know they'd actually killed someone. So when my client said he had no choice, he meant it. He was genuinely terrified. These people were going to murder his children, your grandchildren. What would you have done in his position? I wouldn't have tried to murder my own mother. But what would you have done? Let your grandchildren die. How far would you go to protect the children you love? I had no answer, because the truth was I didn't know. I'd never been in that position. No further questions, Mr. Bartholomew said, sitting down. I stepped down from the witness stand, shaking, because he'd planted doubt, made the jury wonder if maybe Grady wasn't entirely evil, maybe just desperate, maybe driven to desperate actions by desperate circumstances. During the lunch recess, the prosecutor pulled me aside. Mrs. Crawford, we need to talk. There's been a development. What kind of development? Winnie has changed her story. My heart sank. What do you mean changed her story? She's now claiming that she coerced Grady into that confession, that she manipulated him, that the recording doesn't reflect what really happened. That's a lie, she came to me. She wanted to record him, she wanted to stop him. I believe you, but Mrs. Crawford, she's his wife. And if she testifies that she manipulated him into that confession, it could undermine our entire case. The recording might not be admissible. Why would she do this? Why would she protect him after everything? I don't know, but we need to prepare for the possibility that the recording won't be enough. Do you have any other evidence? Anything else that proves Grady tried to kill you? The hospital records from the poisoning. The mechanics report about the brake lines. The fire marshal's report about the arson. All circumstantial. It proves someone tried to kill you. But proving it was Grady specifically, without the recording, that's harder. So he might get away with it. Not get away with it, but maybe get a reduced sentence. Maybe convince the jury it was someone else. I don't know. We'll keep fighting. But I need you to be prepared for the possibility that this doesn't go the way we hope. That afternoon, Winnie took the stand. She looked different than she had at the beginning of the trial, more composed, more confident. And when she looked at Grady, there was something in her eyes that I didn't trust. Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Bartholomew began, you're the one who recorded the conversation with your husband, correct? Yes. And why did you make that recording? Because Miss Idella asked me to. She said she needed evidence, that she wanted to send Grady to prison. I didn't want to do it, but she was very persuasive. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. That was a lie, a complete lie. So Mrs. Crawford pressured you to record your husband. Yes, she made me feel like if I didn't help her, I was betraying her, like I was choosing Grady over her, and I was scared of what she might do. scared of a 69-year-old woman. She can be very intimidating, very manipulative. The prosecutor stood up. Objection. Mrs. Peterson is testifying about matters not in evidence. Sustained. Mrs. Peterson, stick to facts, not opinions. Mr. Bartholomew continued. When you recorded that conversation, did you lead your husband into saying things that sounded incriminating? Yes, I asked him leading questions, made it seem like I was on his side, got him to say things that out of context sounded terrible, but in context he was just venting. He was scared and desperate, and I took advantage of that. Did your husband actually try to kill his mother? Winnie paused, looked at Grady, then said, I don't think so. I think he was just talking, just scared. I don't believe he actually did any of those things. The courtroom erupted, people shouting, the judge banging her gavel, and I sat there, stunned, watching my daughter-in-law lie under oath to protect the man who tried to murder me. During the prosecutor's cross-examination, she tried to poke holes in Winnie's new story. Mrs. Peterson, when you first came to Mrs. Crawford with this recording, what did you tell her? I told her I was worried about Grady, that I thought he might be in trouble. Did you tell her you wanted to protect her from him? I might have said something like that. I was confused. Mrs. Peterson, you testified earlier, before today, that you believed your husband was dangerous, that you were afraid he would try to kill his mother again. Was that testimony false? I was emotional. I wasn't thinking clearly. Or are you lying now? Mrs. Peterson, did someone threaten you? Did someone tell you to change your story? Winnie's eyes flickered. Just for a second, fear, real fear. No, no one threatened me. I'm just telling the truth now. Mrs. Peterson, if you're being threatened, you need to tell this court. We can protect you. I'm not being threatened. I'm fine. My husband is innocent. That's all I came here to say. But I saw it, in her eyes, in her body language. Someone had gotten to her. Someone had threatened her. Maybe the same people Grady owed money to. Maybe they'd told her, change your story or we'll hurt your children. And she'd done what any mother would do. She'd protected her Bobbies, even if it meant lying, even if it meant letting an attempted murderer go free. After Winnie testified, the prosecutor called a surprise witness. Someone I didn't know was going to testify. Someone who changed everything. The prosecution calls Detective Mose Williams to the stand. Detective Williams was the lead investigator on my case. He'd been the one to arrest Grady, the one who'd taken my statements. Detective Williams, in the course of your investigation, did you discover who Mr. Grady Crawford owed money to? Yes, we identified them as part of an organized crime ring operating in the Atlanta area. They call themselves the West Side Crew. They specialize in high-interest loans to desperate business owners. And what did you learn about the West Side Crew? They're extremely violent. They've been linked to at least 3 murders in the past 5 years. People who couldn't pay their debts. Did you speak to any members of this organization? We arrested 2 lower-level members last week. They've agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced sentences, and they confirmed that Grady Crawford owed them $500,000. They also confirmed that they threatened to harm his children if he didn't pay by a specific date. When was that date? March 31st, 3 months ago. And what happened on March 15th? That's when Mrs. Crawford was poisoned, 2 weeks before the deadline to pay. So Mr. Crawford was desperate. He had 2 weeks to come up with $500,000 or his children would be killed. Correct. Correct. Detective, did these West Side Crew members say anything about Mrs. Crawford? About the attempts on her life? Yes, they said Grady Crawford came to them with a plan. He said he had a way to get the money through his mother's life insurance. They told him to handle it. They knew what he was planning, and they approved of it. The courtroom went silent because this changed everything. It wasn't just Grady acting alone. He had the approval, maybe even the encouragement of violent criminals. This was bigger than a desperate son trying to save his family. This was organized crime. No further questions, the prosecutor said. Mr. Bartholomew tried to object, tried to argue that this was prejudicial, but the judge allowed it. The jury needed to know the full context. That evening, after court adjourned, something happened that I'll never forget. I was leaving the courthouse with Ola and Jasper. We were walking to the parking lot when a car pulled up beside us. The window rolled down. It was Winnie. "Miss Idella, please. I need to talk to you." "I have nothing to say to you. You lied on that stand." "I know, and I'm sorry, but please just listen." Against my better judgment, I stopped. "What do you want?" Winnie got out of the car. She looked terrified. "They came to my house, 2 men, 3 days ago. They said if I didn't change my testimony, they'd take Sherman and Lottie. They showed me pictures of my children at school. Showed me they knew where they were every moment of the day. They said they'd make them disappear. What was I supposed to do?" "You were supposed to tell the police. Tell someone." "The police can't protect us 24/7. These people are everywhere. Miss Idella, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted any of this. I just want my Bobbies safe." "And what about me? What about keeping me safe from your husband?" I know it's not right, but I'm a mother. And when someone threatens my children, I do whatever it takes. Even lie. Even protect the man who tried to kill you. I'm sorry." She got back in her car and drove away. And I stood there, understanding something I didn't want to understand. Winnie wasn't the villain. She was another victim, trapped by the same criminals who'd trapped Grady. But understanding didn't change the facts. Her lie on the stand had damaged the case, maybe fatally. The next morning, closing arguments began. The prosecutor went first. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Grady Crawford tried to murder his mother. 3 times. The evidence is clear. The hospital records prove she was poisoned. The mechanic's report proves her brake lines were cut. The fire marshal's report proves her house was set on fire with intent to trap her inside. And the recording, despite what Mrs. Peterson now claims, proves that Grady Crawford confessed to all of it. The defense will tell you that Grady was desperate, that he was protecting his children, that he had no choice. But let me be clear, there is always a choice. Grady Crawford could have gone to the police. He could have asked his mother for help. He could have declared bankruptcy. He had options. But instead, he chose to try to murder the woman who gave him life. That's not desperation. That's evil. Don't let him get away with it. Find him guilty on all 3 counts of attempted murder. Send a message that no matter how desperate you are, no matter what excuse you have, you don't get to murder your own mother." Then it was Mr. Bartholomew's turn. "Ladies and gentlemen, my client made terrible choices. I won't deny that. But he made those choices because he was a father trying to save his children from brutal killers. Put yourself in his position. Your children are going to be murdered unless you come up with $500,000. What would you do?" Now, I'm not saying what he did was right, but I am saying it was understandable. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was in survival mode. And while his actions were wrong, they came from a place of love for his children. The prosecution wants you to believe Grady is a monster, but he's not. He's a desperate father who made terrible choices under unbearable pressure. Find him not guilty. Give him a chance to make things right. The jury deliberated for 2 days. 2 days of waiting. 2 days of wondering. 2 days of not knowing if my son would face justice or walk free. And then, on the 3rd day, the jury came back. Has the jury reached a verdict? "We have, Your Honor." "On the count of attempted murder by poisoning, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of attempted murder by tampering with a vehicle, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of attempted murder by arson, how do you find?" "Guilty." Guilty, on all 3 counts. Grady would be going to prison for a very long time. I should have felt relieved, vindicated, safe. But all I felt was sad, because my son, my firstborn, was going to prison. And even though he deserved it, even though justice had been served, it still broke my heart. But the story wasn't over, because what happened at sentencing, what Grady did, what I learned, what came to light, that was the real ending. The one no one saw coming. The one that changed everything I thought I knew about my son and about myself. Guilty on all counts. If you're emotional right now, smash that like button and subscribe now. Turn on all notifications. And comment, where are you watching from? And how are you feeling about this verdict? 3 weeks after the guilty verdict, we gathered in the courtroom again for sentencing. This was my chance to give a victim impact statement, my chance to tell the judge and Grady how his actions had affected me. I'd written and rewritten that statement a dozen times, trying to find the right words to express the betrayal, the fear, the heartbreak of having your own child try to kill you. The courtroom was packed again, but this time the atmosphere was different, quieter, more somber. Everyone knew what was coming. Grady was going to prison for a long time. The only question was, how long? Grady sat at the defense table looking thin and pale. Prison had not been kind to him. The confident businessman I'd known was gone, replaced by this hollow shell of a man. The judge called me forward. "Mrs. Crawford, you may give your victim impact statement." I walked to the podium with my written statement in hand. But when I got there, when I looked at my son, I folded up the paper and put it away. Because the words I'd written weren't the words I needed to say. "Your Honor, for 3 months, I've been trying to understand how this happened. How the baby I held in my arms, the boy I raised, the man I was so proud of, how he became someone who could try to kill me. Not once, but 3 times. Grady wouldn't look at me. He stared at the table. I've asked myself, where did I go wrong as a mother? What did I do that made my son think my life was worth less than $500,000? Was I too hard on him? Too soft? Did I love him too much? Not enough. But over these 3 months, I've realized something. This isn't about me. This isn't about what I did or didn't do as a mother. This is about choices. Grady made choices, bad choices, evil choices, and now he has to live with the consequences. I took a breath, my voice shaking. When he put arsenic in my tea, I didn't just get sick. I lost something. I lost the ability to trust, to feel safe, to believe that the people who say they love you actually mean it. When he cut my brake lines, I didn't just almost die in a car accident. I lost my independence. I was afraid to drive for months, afraid to go anywhere alone, afraid to live my life. When he set fire to my house, I didn't just lose my home. I lost my memories, my photos, the things my late husband and I had collected over 40 years of marriage. Gone, all gone, because my son wanted money more than he wanted me alive. Now Grady was crying, silent tears running down his face, but I wasn't done. But you know what I lost most? I lost my son. Not to prison, he did that to himself. I lost the son I thought I had, the son I believed in, the son I loved, because that son never existed, or if he did, he died the moment Grady decided I was worth more dead than alive. The courtroom was completely silent. Your Honor, I'm not here to ask for mercy for my son. He didn't show me mercy when he tried to kill me. 3 times. I'm here to ask for justice. Real justice. The kind that says you can't try to murder your own mother and get a light sentence because you had a good reason. There is no good reason, ever. I looked at Grady one last time. I forgive you, not because you deserve forgiveness, but because I deserve peace. I deserve to move forward without the weight of hate in my heart. But forgiveness doesn't mean I want you in my life. It doesn't mean what you did is okay. It just means I'm choosing to heal. And I can't heal if you're out there, free, where you might try again. Your Honor, I ask that you sentence my son to the maximum penalty allowed by law, because that's what justice looks like. I sat down, shaking. Ola squeezed my hand. Jasper put his arm around me, and we waited for the judge's decision. But before the judge could sentence Grady, something unexpected happened. Grady's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client would like to make a statement. The judge looked surprised. Mr. Crawford, you have the right to remain silent. Are you sure you want to speak? Grady nodded. He stood up, his hands shaking. Yes, Your Honor, I need to say something to my mother, to everyone. The judge nodded. Go ahead. Grady turned to face me, and what he said next shocked everyone in that courtroom, including me. Mama, everything you said is true, and I'm sorry, but there's something else, something I've never told anyone, something that explains but doesn't excuse why I did what I did. When I was 14 years old, I watched Daddy beat you. I watched him hit you so hard you fell down the stairs. Do you remember that night? I felt cold all over, because yes, I remembered. My late husband had a temper. There was one terrible night when we'd argued and he'd shoved me. I'd fallen down the stairs, broken my wrist. He'd been horrified, apologetic, promised it would never happen again, and it never did. But I'd forgotten Grady had seen it. I watched that happen, Grady continued, his voice breaking. And I promised myself I will never be like him. I will never hurt my mother. I will protect her. Always. But then I got in trouble, financial trouble. And those people, the West Side crew, they said they'd kill Sherman and Lottie if I didn't pay. And I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I thought about asking you for help, but I was ashamed. Ashamed that I'd failed. Ashamed that I'd become the kind of man who needed to beg his mother for money. So I convinced myself there was another way, a way where nobody would get hurt, nobody I loved anyway. You were 69 years old. You'd lived a full life. And if you were gone, if you were just gone, then Sherman and Lottie would be safe. My children would be safe, and I wouldn't have to admit to you that I'd failed. He was sobbing now, barely able to speak. But I was wrong, so wrong. Because in trying to protect my children, I became the thing I swore I'd never be. I became my father, worse than my father, because at least he never tried to kill you. He just hurt you once and spent the rest of his life making up for it. But me, I tried to kill you 3 times, and I can never make up for that. Grady turned to the judge. Your Honor, I deserve whatever sentence you give me. Life in prison, death penalty if it was an option. Whatever it is, it's not enough. Because you can't punish me worse than I'm already punishing myself. Every day I wake up knowing what I did, knowing I tried to kill the woman who gave me life, and that's a torture I'll carry forever. He looked at me one last time. Mama, I know you said you forgive me. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve anything from you. But I want you to know I'm sorry, not because I got caught, not because I'm going to prison, but because I hurt you, because I betrayed you, because I destroyed what we had, and I'm sorry. The judge took a moment before speaking. Mr. Crawford, your explanation provides context, but as your mother said, context doesn't excuse evil. You made conscious choices to attempt to murder your mother. You poisoned her. You sabotaged her car. You set fire to her home. These weren't heat-of-the-moment decisions. These were calculated, premeditated attempts at murder. You had options. You could have gone to the police. You could have asked your family for help. You could have declared bankruptcy. You could have done 100 different things, but you chose murder, and that choice has consequences. On count 1, attempted murder by poisoning, I sentence you to 20 years in state prison. On count 2, attempted murder by tampering with a vehicle, I sentence you to 20 years in state prison. On count 3, attempted murder by arson, I sentence you to 25 years in state prison. These sentences will run consecutively, not concurrently. That's a total of 65 years in prison. 65 years. Grady was 47 years old. He'd be over 100 by the time he got out, if he lived that long. Mr. Crawford, you will spend the rest of your life paying for what you did to your mother. And maybe, in those decades behind bars, you'll become the man your mother raised you to be. The man you should have been all along. Court is adjourned. They took Grady away in handcuffs. He looked back at me one more time, tears streaming down his face. And then he was gone. After the sentencing, something else happened that I wasn't expecting. The prosecutor called me into her office. Mrs. Crawford, I have news about the West Side crew. What about them? Based on the information we gathered during Grady's trial, the FBI got involved. They've arrested 8 members of the organization, including the leaders. They're being charged with racketeering, extortion, murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. So they can't hurt anyone else. Not anymore. The organization has been dismantled. And Mrs. Crawford, several of their victims are coming forward now. People who were too afraid to report them before. But seeing what you did, seeing you stand up to your own son, seeing justice served, it gave them courage. You've helped save lives. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a mother who'd lost her son. but I was glad something good had come from this nightmare. "There's something else," the prosecutor said. "Winnie wants to see you. She asked if you'd be willing to meet with her." "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "She wants to apologize, in person, and she wants to tell you something about Grady, something she learned after the trial." My curiosity got the better of me. "Okay, I'll meet with her." Winnie came to my house, my rebuilt house, 3 days after the sentencing. She brought Sherman and Lottie with her, my grandchildren. I hadn't seen them in months. "Grandma Idella." Sherman ran to me and hugged me tight. He was 11 now, getting so big. "I missed you so much." Lottie, who was 8, was more hesitant. "Grandma, is it true what Daddy did? Did he really try to hurt you?" I knelt down to her level. "Yes, baby, he did. And I'm sorry you have to know that. I'm sorry this happened to our family." "Is Daddy a bad person?" "Your daddy made very bad choices, but he loves you. Never doubt that. Everything he did, even the terrible things, he did because he thought he was protecting you. But you could have died." "I know, and what he did was wrong. But Lottie, you don't have to carry that weight. You don't have to feel guilty for what your father did. You're a good girl, and you're going to grow up to be a good woman. Nothing your father did changes that." After the children went outside to play in my yard, Winnie and I sat down to talk. "Miss Idella, I'm so sorry for lying on the stand, for protecting Grady, for everything. You were protecting your children. I understand that. But you almost didn't get justice because of me. If the jury had believed my lie." "But they didn't. The truth came out. That's what matters." Winnie wiped her eyes. "There's something I need to tell you, something I found out after the trial, about why Grady really did this." He explained in court. "The West Side crew threatened his children." "That's true. But it's not the whole truth. Miss Idella, Grady's business didn't fail because of bad luck or bad investments. It failed because he was stealing from it. He was taking money from the company to gamble." My heart sank. Gamble. He had a gambling problem for years. I didn't know the extent of it until after his arrest. He was going to casinos, betting on sports, online poker. He lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's why his business failed. That's why he owed money to the West Side crew, borrowed from them to cover his gambling debts. So the whole story about protecting his children was true, but the reason they were in danger in the first place was because of his gambling. He put them at risk. And then he tried to murder you to save them from the danger he created. It's all so twisted and awful. I sat there, absorbing this information. My son hadn't just tried to kill me for his family. He'd tried to kill me to cover up his own addiction, his own failures, his own sins. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know the whole truth, and because I don't want you to carry any guilt about this. You didn't fail as a mother. Grady made his own choices, his addiction, his debts, his crimes. None of that is your fault." Over the next year, I slowly rebuilt my life, literally and figuratively. I finished renovating my house, made it beautiful again, made it feel safe again, installed a security system, got a dog, a big, friendly German shepherd named Duke who made me feel protected. I went to therapy, dealt with the trauma, the fear, the betrayal, learned how to trust again, how to feel safe again, how to move forward. My relationships with Ola and Jasper grew stronger. We had family dinners every Sunday. We talked about everything, including Grady. We didn't pretend he didn't exist. We acknowledged what happened and processed it together. And slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. 2 years after the sentencing, I got a letter from Grady. The first letter he'd sent since going to prison. "Dear Mama, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you want to hear from me, but I needed to write anyway. I've spent 2 years in prison thinking about what I did, about who I became, about the man I was supposed to be versus the man I became. I'm in a program here for gambling addiction, and I'm learning things about myself, about how my addiction destroyed my life, how it destroyed our family, how it turned me into someone capable of trying to kill his own mother. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I know that's not possible. I'm not writing to make excuses. I know there are none. I'm just writing to tell you I'm becoming a better person. Not for you, not for anyone else, but for myself. Because I need to be able to look in the mirror without hating what I see. I hope you're doing well. I hope you've healed. I hope you found peace. I love you, Mama. I always have. Even when I was trying to hurt you, some part of me still loved you. And I'm sorry that love wasn't enough to stop me from doing what I did. Your son, Grady. I read that letter 3 times, and then I did something I never thought I'd do. I wrote back, Dear Grady, I received your letter, and I'm glad you're working on yourself. Glad you're getting help for your addiction. Glad you're trying to become better. You asked if I've found peace. The answer is yes, but it took time. 2 years of therapy, 2 years of learning to feel safe again, 2 years of rebuilding what you destroyed. I meant what I said in court. I forgive you, not because you've earned forgiveness, but because I choose peace over bitterness. I choose healing over hate. But Grady, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what you did was okay. It doesn't mean we'll ever have the relationship we once had. You're serving 65 years in prison. I'm 69 years old. The reality is we'll probably never see each other again outside of prison visits. And honestly, I don't know if I can handle visiting you, seeing you in that place, being reminded of what happened. But I can write letters. I can stay connected this way. And maybe, over the years, we can build something new. Not a mother-son relationship like we had before, but something. Some kind of connection based on honesty and growth. I'm proud that you're working on yourself. Keep doing that. Become the man you were meant to be, even if it's behind bars, even if no one but you ever sees it. Do it for yourself. And Grady, Sherman and Lottie are doing well. Winnie is raising them right. They're good kids. They know what you did, but they don't hate you. They're confused and hurt, but they still love you. She lets them write to you. Make sure you write back. Make sure they know that even though you made terrible choices, you still love them. Be well. Mama. 5 years after Grady was sentenced, I turned 74 years old. My children threw me a birthday party. Ola, Jasper, their families, Winnie, Sherman, and Lottie. We gathered in my backyard, the yard I'd rebuilt, in front of the house I'd reclaimed. Sherman was 16 now, a young man getting ready for college. Lottie was 13, beautiful and bright. They were good kids. Despite everything their father had done, they were turning out okay. Grandma, Sherman said, can I ask you something? Of course, baby. Do you still love my dad, after everything he did? I thought about that question carefully. Yes, I still love him, because love isn't something you can just turn off. But loving someone doesn't mean accepting their behavior. It doesn't mean letting them hurt you. You can love someone from a distance. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. Does that make sense? I think so. I love my dad too, but I'm also angry at him. Is that okay? It's more than okay. It's healthy. You get to feel whatever you feel. Anger, love, sadness, confusion, all of it. Your father made terrible choices. You don't have to pretend that's not true. But you also don't have to hate him. You get to be complicated about it. Sherman hugged me. Thanks, Grandma, for surviving, for being here. Thanks for giving me a reason to survive, baby. Today, at 74 years old, I live in my rebuilt house with my dog, Duke. I have a security system. I have therapy every other week. I have family dinners every Sunday. I have a life I rebuilt from the ashes, literally. Grady will be in prison for the rest of my life and most of his. I write to him occasionally. He writes back. We have a relationship built on letters and honesty and distance. It's not what I dreamed of when I held him as a baby, but it's what we have. The West Side crew members are in prison too. Multiple life sentences for murder, extortion, and racketeering. They can't hurt anyone else. And me, I survived. That's the most important thing. I survived 3 murder attempts. I survived a trial where I had to testify against my own son. I survived the heartbreak of watching him go to prison. And I survived the long, slow process of healing. People ask me sometimes, how did you do it? How did you testify against your own child? And I tell them, because love doesn't mean being a doormat. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Love doesn't mean protecting people from the consequences of their actions. Real love, healthy love, means holding people accountable, even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when it's your own child. My son wanted me dead, but when I testified, when I told the truth, when I played that recording, when I looked him in the eyes and refused to let him get away with it, he turned ash gray. Because he realized something he should have known all along. Mothers are stronger than you think. And this mother refused to die. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting, still living. And that's the greatest victory of all. Wow, what an incredible journey from attempted murder to healing and justice. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in the power of standing up for yourself, we need you to take action right now. Smash that like button. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful grandmother stories every single week. Turn on all notifications so you never miss our next amazing story. Comment below and tell us, where are you watching from? USA, UK, Canada, Jamaica, South Africa, Kenya, Trinidad, Australia. We love our global family. Could you have testified against your own child? Was 65 years too harsh or too lenient? Have you ever had to choose justice over family loyalty? Share this video with anyone dealing with family betrayal, people facing difficult choices about family loyalty versus justice, survivors of attempted murder or violence, anyone who needs courage to stand up to family members, anyone struggling with forgiveness and boundaries. Thank you to our incredible viewers from around the world. From the USA, United Kingdom, Canada, South Africa, Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Zimbabwe, Australia, and everywhere else. We see you, we appreciate you, and we love you. Remember Idella's lesson. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. You can love someone from a distance. Holding people accountable is an act of love. TESTIFYING against your own child is the hardest thing, but sometimes it's the right thing. Forgiveness is for your peace, not their permission, and surviving is the greatest victory. Stay strong, stay blessed, and never let anyone, not even your own children, destroy you without a fight. Justice and love can coexist.